Welcome and thank you for being here. I'm Puneet, a global marketing and growth leader, and over the next 30 odd minutes, I'm excited to share the 0 to 1 GTM playbook for creative AI apps. This will help us solve the problem of hey, the demo is great, but the actual product and the retention curve isn't, something that a lot of founders, business teams care about. So let's get started. We'll cover this topic in five key sections. First, we'll define creative AI apps, the landscape, categories, and why this matters. Next, we'll discuss what 0 to 1 actually means, right? And why most cool demos never actually get there. Then we'll dive into five playbook moves across use cases, UX, time to value, repeat usage, and distribution. And then we'll talk about my favorite community and measurement. And this is where the facts and the numbers don't lie. Lastly, we'll end up with some takeaways so that you can make this practical and actionable as you go back into your day jobs. Thank you. Before we dive deeper, just a broad snapshot about me. I have spent over 16 years scaling growth engines for global technology companies, including Coursera, LinkedIn, ETS, and Sherm. This experience includes achieving 5x ARR growth at Coursera and leading AI native GTM for several major launches. My focus is on building scalable GTM engines and driving community led growth. What I really love and is most relevant today is a recent work that has been at the intersection of marketing and AI native products. I led GTM for Coursera's Generative AI Academy and Career Academy and the global launch of AI powered TOEFL IBD across 100 plus countries. So excited to be here. Let's dive in. Let's dive into section one, which we call as defining creative AI apps. And this will help us agree on what category encompasses, and we'll map the landscape and introduce three different and distinct lenses for viewing the space. So what are creative AI apps? In the broadest sense, any product that uses generative models to assist or fully produce creative output. These are called as creative AI apps. They span four modalities, as you can see on the screen: image, voice, music, and design. And there are examples across Adobe Photoshop, 11 Labs, Suno, and Figma. Products, brands that we've all used, familiar with, that are kind of pioneers in their own respective space. What unites all of these also is in the model. It is the framing. They take a workflow that used to require an expert hours of work and turn it into something that a non-expert can ship in a minute. That compression of converting hours into minutes is the actual product. The product. Now let's look at it from another second lens that I want you to understand. People talk about creative AI as if it's one market. It isn't. There are three very different buyers, and which one you serve changes everything: pricing, distribution, retention, and even the model you choose. For example, look at the first one, B2B SAS. The business buys it for its own team's productivity, workflows. Examples could be Notion, Zapier. For example, the unit value here is hours saved per seat that you sell on integration depth. If you look at the second instance, this is B2B2 SaaS, and a business buys the platform so that its end users can create. Examples of this could be Canva for small business marketers, Adobe Express for creators, Figma for designers serving the clients. You're not selling directly to the creator here. You're selling this to the company that wants to give creators a better tool. The win is platform reach plus output capability. And the last one is the pure consumer play. So for example, Suno, 11 Labs, Perplexity for individual. The user is the buyer and the output they share is the marketing. You sell here on novelty and you win on virality and habit. The reason this matters is the playbook we'll get into shortly applies to all three, but how we dial into those settings kind of changes. Now let's get to the meat of why this talk exists. The numbers that you see on the screen, 1,047%, is the pattern of nearly every creative AI app that went viral in the last 24 months. 1 million signups, massive launch, then 47% return rate after the first session. That's just a polite version of the curve I see again and again. You in your individual lives also would have seen this movie in probably different avatars. Say, for example, an AI avatar app that hits number one on the App Store but is gone in 6 weeks, or the image in wrapper that's clocking in 20,000 MRR in a month until the open weights catch up and then it loses steam in 90 days. Or lastly, an AI video toy that does 10 million views on launch but today has 4 paying users. The bottom line from here is going viral is not the same as going to market. The signups are real. The attention is real, but none of those things is a business. And almost everyone in this space is mistaking the launch for the product. And that is what we will cover for the rest of this session and slideshow. Now that we've understood what creative AI apps are, let's try and decipher what 0 to 1 actually means in this context. So I would say 0 to 1 comprises of 3 signals and all of them have to be true. For example, the first signal, a segment or the specific persona that you have built this for keeps returning. It could be a designer, marketer, songwriter, whoever it is, you should be able to name them and you should be able to see that data unprompted back into your product. The second is the use case is repeatable. One job to be done, and that becomes a weekly, daily habit based on your product. It's the same kind of person, same kind of task, same kind of output. If the user returns, but every visit is a different experiment, you don't have a product, you have a sandbox. Third, and the one that I love the most, is users bring in new users. And this is what we call organic referral starts showing up. This never happens until 1 and 2 are true. The bottom line, if none of these are working, or only if 1 and 2 of these are working, you have a demo, you don't have a product. And it's very important that you are honest about where you stack up. To summarize, if you look at it from a user's point of view, they don't just want generation. They want a result. They want an outcome that is repeatable. And that is what a good creative AI apps do. So welcome to section 3. In this section, the GTM playbook, I'll talk about 5 practical moves that turn an open-ended generator into a repeatable product. Each one is short and has examples from the real world. So here are the 5 moves. Read them in a sequential order from top to bottom. I'll do a slide on each with some real world examples. So the first one here is to pick a high frequency use case. The single biggest mistake I see founders, teams doing is picking a use case that sounds big, but only happens once a year. The principle you have to keep in mind is a specific persona has to be doing a specific task on a weekly, daily cadence, and the success of those activities has to be defined as concrete output, not just exploration. For example, if you take the example of Suno here, that they didn't pitch AI music. It pitched make a song about X occasion that turned out to be a job people do for birthdays, weddings, inside jokes, etc., etc. The repetition is how the magical combo happens. The question to ask your product team every quarter, what does the user open us to do and how often does it happen on its own without us nagging the user? If you get this right, you get step 1 right. Moving to step 2. The second step is killing the blank canvas. The single biggest driver in terms of adopt and churn is the empty prompt box. New users using a product for the first time don't know what to use it for, to type. They don't know what good looks like. They don't know all the superpowers that you've given your product. So the principle to follow here is replace the blank box with a predefined entry point. It could be templates, it could be presets, remixes, anything that shows them from input to result. Examples from the real world include Canva AI, where every AI feature lives inside an existing template. The blank canvas isn't the first thing, it's the last resort. Notion does this similar. The point to keep in mind is if your homepage is a text box and tagline, you have outsourced the hardest job in your product to your user. They will fail and not come back. So with this, moving to step 3, the third biggest GTM playbook idea I would leave with minimize time to value. The first OWOW has to happen before you ask the user for anything. Principally, it means no sign-up walls before the user can see the output, no 7-step onboarding process, get the user to a result they would actually keep within seconds. The cleanest example here is Perplexity. You type a question, you get the answer, no account, no setup. The sign up only comes once they've received value, by which point motivated to give you their email. Time to value is your funnel and you should principally be in love with that. Moving to the fourth step. one of the principles I believe in is the second visit is harder to earn than the first visit, right? So hence you have to design for repeat usage. Most creative AI products treat every session like it's session one, and that's a killer mindset to have. Example, Midjourney does this really well. Every image you create lives in their feed forever. And it's not their feed, it's also your feed. Variations, upscales mean every session is a continuation, not a fresh start. And the product itself becomes your personal portfolio. ChatGPT does this equally well through memories and threads. The second conversation picks up where the first one ended. That's a personal mode that compounds in the long term. The key takeaway would be if users have to start from scratch every session, then you're not a product, you're a vending machine. Vending machines don't have retention. The last one, and this is the most underrated one, which is to bake distribution into the output. The principle behind this is simple. Every output that your user is creating is a billboard for yourself and your organization. Make it inherently shareable, frictionless to publish, as well as quietly attributable back to you. For example, in the real world, Suno does this really well. All songs come with a built-in player and an attribution link. Gamma free deck ships with a small Gamma badge. Suddenly, every meeting that uses a Gamma deck is a marketing channel. The bottom line here is if the output looks like a thing the user made, but feels like a thing your product made, you've got it right. The pride of authorship plus quiet attribution is the sweet trick here. Moving to section Moving to section 4, the moat and the math. So once you've implemented the playbook, how do you know it's working for you and what can you use to defend your positioning there? Let's talk about these things in section 4. The way you have to start thinking differently is the community is the moat. This is the piece that sits underneath all the 5 plays and the one that gets ignored most often. In the world that we live today, APIs help you commoditize, communities don't. The top things that a community does for you that nothing else can is the top 5% of your power users define what goods look like. Their outputs become implicit tutorial for every new user. You couldn't write the documentation even if you tried. The second one is the community is the docs. Today, Discord threads, prompt galleries, YouTube tutorials, they're all made by us at zero marginal cost. Getting that right is your flywheel in action. Third important element is the feedback loop becomes your roadmap, right? Power users will surface edge cases, missing features, and entirely emergent issues faster than any internal PM can. Cursor's product roadmap, for example, is basically their forum sorted by upvote. Midjourney, Discord, all of them, product is the seed, community is soil. I couldn't have ended this prezzo without talking about my favorite topic, measurement. And when it comes to creative AI apps, you should be tracking 3 numbers and ignoring the rest, especially ignoring vanity metrics like total signups, etc., because they correlate badly with anything that really matters. The first thing that you should be measuring is activation. What percentage of new users reach output in their first session? What is the net output? If they don't ship something in the first time, that the data shows that they might not never come back. The second is retention rates, and you could measure that differently for day 1 to day 7 based on the cohort analysis you run. Do they come back within 1 day, 7 day, on their own without you nudging them? Like, is it a pull? Is it a push? If your retention numbers require an email blast, then it's not a retention game that you're playing. The last one is repeat usage, outputs per user over a 7 day window. This is a habit forming metric. It's the only way it compounds. A user creating 1 output per week and a user creating 10 outputs per week are completely different products economically. Those are just some elements that I wanted to share on how you should be thinking about measurement in the creative AI. If I were to summarize the whole 0 to 1 GTM framework on one slide, this is how I would attempt it. This comprises 4 steps that need to happen in a sequence. First off is your recurring use case. Second off is a structured UX that gives a clear path to value. The third is repeat usage that brings them back. And the fourth is distribution baked into the output that travels. The formula hence becomes the constraint, which is you pick the use case right, the workflow, you kill the blank canvas and help build a habit. And the last is speed that creates time to value. All these three together create a wonderful creative AI product for 2026 and beyond. Lastly, before you go, I'm just going to cover some takeaways so that you can operationalize this with different teams in your organization. I think the first one is who's the persona we are building for and what tasks do they do weekly? The second is if you're building something clickable, when a user lands on our homepage, what is the very first thing they can click that produces a real output? Third, seconds to the first useful moment. This is move 3. Fourthly, what brings them back tomorrow without an email blast, a WhatsApp message, etc., etc. And the last one, does the output look like the user made it but feel like your product made it? I think this is the strongest of them all. If your team can't all answer all 5 within one sentence, you've got a roadmap. Pick the weakest one, and that's work that your team needs to do in the next quarter. I hope this was useful. Thank you for your time. Now, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.